Welcome to the 3 Knockdown Rule. Starring Mario Lopez and Steve Kim. Presented by Hustler Casino and UFC Fight Pass.
Ladies and gentlemen, the 3 Knockdown Rule on UFC Fight Pass is in effect. I'm Steve Kim, joined by CJ Lopez. How about them Texans? Can you put on a helmet?
Oh, you're so stupid. More on that later. And you were stupid, not CJ. I wanted to point that out. Salute to you and Smoking Tim Frazier and
Tino on the edits. All right, we have another busy, jam-packed show. The bout sheet for today's program. Beterbiev with another battering. News and notes, Ask Mario, and final flurries. And we want to let you know this podcast is sponsored by Hustler Casino, located just 15 minutes from downtown LA. If you love poker, now is the time to play in their high-limit Crystal Room for a $50,000 total giveaway this holiday season. Come check them out. And also, if you'd like to get involved with the 3 Knockdown Rule and sponsor our show, we still have some slots available. Please reach out to us by emailing info@boxbid.io. Once again, that's info@boxbid.io. Boxbid.io is an online platform that is launching soon that helps public figures and professionals in the world of boxing get sponsorships. We are proudly working with boxbid.io.
Salute to them.
Round 1.
All right. Round number 1, Saturday night from the Videotron Center in Quebec City on ESPN. And still, the IBF, WBC, and WBO light heavyweight champion of the world, Artur Beterbiev, with a knockout in 7 over Callum Smith. Mario, 20 men have tried, 20 men have failed to see the distance against this guy who is the human wrecking ball. Ooh.
What'd I tell you, Kimster? You thought my guy might have slipped a little bit. You thought Father Time might have caught up to him. We thought, you thought maybe based on his last performance against Yard, who was a very athletic guy, he showed signs of slowing down a little bit. And the thing about Beterbiev is that I don't think the inactivity is incredibly detrimental to him because of his lifestyle. We're talking about a guy who is a devout Muslim. There's no partying, there's no drugs, there's no alcohol, there's no baby mama drama. You see these videos that he puts out. He does push-ups on his fingertips, on his, what is this part of the, like on the front part of the wrist. He takes the 45-pound dumbbell and he's spinning like this. It's like freakish strength combined with an incredible discipline, a Spartan lifestyle, and we've seen where Bernard Hopkins, who lives a very similar lifestyle, disciplined lifestyle, he's managed to slow down the age aspect. And I think if you live right and you're able to mix all his natural abilities with that sort of lifestyle, my guy can fight for the next couple of years like this. Because here's the thing. Everybody talks about his power, yes. And ironically, Kim, it's not like he's got that big one-punch knockout Mike Tyson power. He's got that I'm going to steamroll you, overwhelm you power, where he hits you everywhere and it just hurts. It could be in the shoulder, it could be the arm. It just hurts. But he can box. That's the thing. And I think, and forgive me if I'm butchering his name, the Gvozdyk fight?
Gvozdyk, the Nail.
The Nail. When he fought the Nail, who was undefeated in his prime, a very good boxer himself. He had moderate success. But what did Beterbiev do? Figured out the distance, started to time him, started to jab with him. Everything was falling with the jab, went upstairs, went downstairs, closed that distance, broke him down, both physically and then mentally. And that's what he does. He batters you. He breaks you down physically and then mentally, and eventually you succumb to the avalanche that is Beterbiev. And he is such an impressive individual in the way he not just beats his opponents, but beats them down and submits them. If it was a jiu-jitsu match, they'd be tapping out. Okay? And then I like him as a person. He's incredibly humble. He doesn't consider himself an excellent boxer yet. He's a total gentleman. He's just an all-around, just a special man, both as an athlete, as an individual, and as he's about to hit that fourth level, I'm like, wow, way to go. Because let me tell you something. He beat a guy who, he went the distance with Canelo in Callum Smith, where he lost a decision. But as soon as he went up to 175, it's like he was having like highlight reels of some pretty devastating knockouts. Top Rank was putting them, and guys looking like convulsions, having their heads almost spin off their neck. UK, they were out there, a lot of buzz, especially from across the pond, that they were picking him to be a favorite. And he looked good. And when they weighed in, Kim, and they had that face-off, my guy looked big.
Yeah.
Big, tall, filled out, long limbs. I'm like, ooh, it got me thinking and made me not... it made me sort of reconsider, like, oh my gosh, maybe this is a closer fight than what it was. And he did have moments, and a tip of the hat to Smith, because he fought bravely, he fought valiantly, but man, he just started getting beat down. And as impressive, as much courage as Smith showed, Beterbiev just, we talk about this mythical pound for pound list, how people cannot be leaving him off these best pound for pound lists, because I think he's on the Mount Rushmore of the best fighters out there right now.
You know, I watched the Yard fight again after we taped last week, and I tweeted out, I think to take the words of Mark Twain, the reports of his demise
have been greatly exaggerated.
And it really is a credit to Anthony Yard. He fought a hell of a fight, but he only had small pockets. Now, I got to give Callum Smith credit. I thought he fought a better fight on Saturday than he did against Canelo. Threw more punches, actually landed more punches. But Mario, I thought the fight was over in the first 20 seconds. Yeah. When he got backed up to the ropes early, I said, oh, it's over.
I want to let you continue. But another thing to add to everything else, I forgot to mention, my guy can catch.
A lot.
He's got a great chin. Well, if you got heavy hands and a great chin, and that often doesn't go together, whoa, you're dangerous.
Mario,
and you can box.
He reminds me a little bit of Rocky Marciano and Felix Trinidad. Two guys that would get clipped early and get knocked down. And as soon as they got up, the fight was over.
Yeah, but he didn't get knocked down.
Because they get stronger. Well, he's actually been knocked down, Artur Beterbiev.
No, correct, but I'm talking about this last stuff. But
each time, he becomes the stronger guy by the next round. It's uncanny.
Tito Trinidad, it was uncanny way because his was like dramatic knockdowns. Yeah. I like the Marciano comparison. He also reminds me of just a bigger version of Triple G. In the sense where he had that educated jab. He had the good educated jab, right? He goes upstairs and downstairs. He knows how to work the body. He cuts off the ring. His feet are a little faster than you think.
Well, he knows how to close
He knows how to close that distance. His feet he's not like a heavy-handed guy and with heavy feet. You know, Canelo's slick here, but his feet are not that fast. He knows how to close distance. He knows how to cut off that ring. And to my point before, I'm sorry I interrupted you, he can also catch. He's pretty, there's not any holes.
You know, the one thing about Beterbiev, which is really interesting, you talk about his manner. When I was still at ESPN, I had to go to the pre-fight meeting. And I'll never forget when he walked into the room, what a gentleman he was, and he shakes everyone's hand. And then Christina Poncher was there. And he said, oh, sorry, I can't touch you because you're a female who's not my wife. I just want to be very respectful, but hello to you.
He's devout.
So he lives that lifestyle. Yeah. And I've been around him, just a small segments. Let me just tell you something. He's one of those guys, do not take his kindness as weakness.
Oh, no.
Because he's got this mannerism, he's kind of like this cold-blooded guy that once he steps into the ring, it is a different animal. And look, you could probably evade him for 18 minutes, maybe 24, maybe 27. No one's done it for 36, and he's the type of guy that whether he hits you on the shoulders, the arms, the elbows, the gut, he breaks you down. That's why he is the human wrecking ball. And in terms of his pound-for-pound status, you know me, and this is our mantra, activity matters. It is hard to put guys on any list at the elite level if they're not fighting a lot. But you know what? There's a thing called the outlier. There are certain guys that are so good and so dominant. If you look at their body of work and who they've beaten at 175, I just finally came to the realization, you know what, don't overthink this. This guy's not only in the top 10 pound for pound, he's probably in the top 4 or 5.
That's what I said, Mount Rushmore.
Right.
And Kim, he's a guy who has great pedigree, too. We're talking about a guy who's beaten Kovalev in the amateurs, who beat Usyk in the amateurs. Guys that can punch, guys that can really fight, world champions. This is an individual that I feel if he were to even go up a weight class, which ironically isn't even as because it's be the cruiserweight, I think he'd have success. But he seems to fit perfect right at 175. He seems perfect build for it. And I'll tell you what. Again, I was always so impressed. I didn't think Joe Smith fight he could look much better, but he managed to.
He's 38 going on 28.
I thought he was 39 actually.
Yeah. Well, age is just a number. That's all it is with him.
Yeah,
and
I love hearing that.
He's an absolute machine, and we'll talk about a certain matchup a little bit later on in this show. Also on this card, the co-feature on ESPN, super middleweight up-and-comer Christian Mabili with a knockout in 6 rounds over Rohan Murdoch. Mario, as I like to say about guys like this, he fights like he's double-parked robbing a bank.
My guy, listen,
Ooh.
I got to check that out after because I had to watch these fights when I got out of work. He's the kind of guy that, if you want to break him down with any sort of deficiencies in his defense, fine, whatever. But he's the kind of guy, when he fights, I want to watch.
Yeah.
He's going to let his hands go. He's going to make it a fight. He went down hell bent with leather, and he sort of overwhelms you with his activity. And he's fun, man. He's TV friendly. That's the best way to describe him.
Every division needs about 3 of these guys.
Oh yeah,
they're not perfect, but you know what? They're perfect. Their imperfections make them fun. Mm-hmm. They throw punches. They're hard nosed. High activity level. There's an intensity. Reminds me a little bit of a stronger version of, let's say, Juan Diaz. He used to come out throwing leather.
That's a good
or
analogy.
The Camden Buzzsaw, Dwight Muhammad Cowie. As I like to say, you don't need Google Maps to find them. They're going to be right in your face.
Yep.
And you're right, to your original point. I don't want to hear about how you guys think Canelo would carve him up or Benavidez would. Yeah, so what? Because you know what? He'd go down swinging, and you never know, though. When you throw that many punches, you know what might happen? You might land a few. And the thing that's great about him is he comes in waves.
No, I like that.
He comes in waves.
He sort of reminded me a little bit of just with the activity factor. Who's the lightweight we really like? The Golden Boy kid?
Zapata, another guy like that.
Zapata's another good example. Like, I don't care who he's fighting. I'm going to watch it.
Yeah, and for all you Angelo Dundees out there, you armchair Angelo Dundees, don't mess this up. He's good the way he is. He's never going to be a slick boxer, and that's what's great about him. Let's enjoy him for what he is. Keep this in mind, Mario, if you talk about a title shot. Still just 28 years old. Those styles have a way of burning out quickly, but I get the sense looking at him, he's a disciplined athlete. He's number 1 in the WBC and WBA, number 2 in Ring Magazine. So sooner rather than later, either Canelo Alvarez is going to have to say, you know what, I'm going to fulfill a mandatory, or I'm going to vacate the belt. So he's right on the precipice of a title shot.
Good for him.
And no matter who he fights, whether it's Munguia, Edgar Berlanga, you're telling me you wouldn't want to circle a calendar and say, look, honey, we're staying home this night?
Those 2 guys in particular, look, outside of Benavidez and Canelo, I think he's a very, very live dog against those other 2 guys.
And they'd be fun fights.
Yeah.
And also on this card, on the non-televised portion, which was streamed on ESPN+, I think we have our first contender for the 2024 Fight of the Year. It is Jason Maloney maintaining his WBO bantamweight title with a majority decision in 12 rounds over Sal Sanchez, 114-114, and 2 scores of 116-112. Mario, all I can say is this. I'm not going to argue with the decision. I think each guy made an argument of winning 5 to 6 to 7 rounds. What a scrap.
You know, the draw isn't even you can't sort of argue any other way. The draw, which way it would have gone. And that's when you know you've seen a good fight, a great fight.
Yeah.
Actually. So yeah, it was a fun weekend, man. As far as we're starting off 2024 on a great note.
You know, Maloney had to really dig down deep here because early on, the physical strength of Sanchez, first couple rounds, I don't want to say it was controlling the fight, but it was making it difficult. He was on his back foot. Then Maloney took control by kind of initiating. And then Sal Sanchez had to start to dig down deep and had to be a little bit more active. There were rounds where I said the first 90 seconds, this guy won it. The last minute or so, I said the other guy won it. So now it becomes the art form of a judging. I'm not going to lie to you. When I heard 116, 112 twice, it didn't really seem to do the fight justice.
It didn't. And in those types of fight, usually it's the fighter who is most well-conditioned, I feel, who's taken the most well-conditioned. Not to go backwards, but that's another point I forgot to make about Beterbiev, is my guy just gets better with time, too.
Yes.
He's incredibly well-conditioned, and he eventually steamrolls you, even if you have a great game plan, it seems to catch up with you. So in these sort of close fights, but both of these guys were in great shape. They both came well prepared, so that makes it even tougher to call.
Right. I would love to see a rematch.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you, because I get the sense if it was a 7-game series, it might come down to a 7th game.
Yeah.
I mean, it was...
With 2 outs in the ninth.
And Joe Tessitore sent me a message in between the broadcast. They switched over to get Steve. Being here in a real arena, the Videotron Center, made a huge difference. The crowd was into the fight, but congratulations to Jason Maloney. Great job to our good friend Tony Tolge, loyal listener and watcher of the 3 Knockdown Rule,
Thank you
Angelo
very
Hyder.
much.
And
Congrats.
to Jason Maloney, congratulations. And to Sal Sanchez and our guy, Manny Robles. All right, when we come back, more of the 3 Knockdown Rule on UFC Fight Pass.
Catch it streaming live right on YouTube.
Welcome to the big leagues, kid.
$1.2 million.
And I'm losing in this fucking game. What the fuck?
There's a 400K flip. If I win by way, you get 10 grand. For my fans.
Wow. All in the call.
I'm not fucking leaving.
Raise it up.
And we're back on the 3 Knockdown Rule on the UFC Fight Pass. Hey, if you want to sponsor our show, email us at info@boxbid.io. Once again, that's an email. You can send it to info@boxbid.io.
News and notes.
All right, news and notes. Oh, boy, you know, in Turkey we trust. His Excellency is making a lot of fights. Mario, let's go through the list here. February 17th, the Ring of Fire in Saudi Arabia. The headline is Tyson Fury against Alexander Usyk. But they have added to the undercard the Ring Magazine cruiserweight titleist Jai Opetaia, who we love, is going to take on Maris Bradis in a rematch. The guy that broke his jaw in the title-winning shot. And then Jolton Joe Cordina and Sergey Kovalev are on the card.
Oh, wow.
And then fast forward, March 8th, as Anthony Joshua takes on Francis Ngannou, we have my fourth cousin, Zheli Zhang, taking on Joseph Parker.
Ooh,
and
that's a
then
fun
Ray
fight.
Vargas takes on Nick the Wrecking Ball for the WBC featherweight crown. Mario, it seems to me like Saudi Arabia is here to stay.
Hey,
they're making fights.
Bravo, Saudi Arabia. We might have to get the passport stamped, Kim.
Oh, boy.
I'm telling you. That's not an easy fight either, but catch up on some rest and bust out the iPad right there. I'm down for that.
You know, I'm really happy that a guy like Jai Opetaia, who I think got the absolute shaft from the IBF, that Saudi Arabia and that this group is saying, you know what, you're the champion. As long as you keep winning, we're going to treat you as the champion, and we're going to fund this career. My view is he's probably making more money doing this than making mandatory defenses at home. As far as I'm concerned, this could change the whole structure of the business, that if you have a recognized champion and you treat him as such. Because, look, I've always said belts matter. But I'm not going to lie to you. The behavior of the organizations, not all of them, but most of them, the last couple of years, it's been concerning. Because they are no longer part of the solution. They are now one of the problems. And as long as they keep doing stuff like making sure that Jai Opetaia is treated as a legitimate world champion and paying him well, and this is one of the best 15 fighters in the world. So I'm glad they're giving him this respect.
And as far as Saudi Arabia, I'm a big fan of how they've gotten involved in the sport, what they continue to do. I'm telling you, they're making it more like the UFC, where they're giving us the fights that we actually want to fight.
And they are stacking the cards.
And they're stacking the cards. When have we seen that? When was the last time we've seen that? I hope it's just a preview of what's to come. I hope they become, well, I guess they already are major players, but they even get more involved. I'm telling you, I think this is great for the fighters, great for the sport itself, and great for the fans.
Mario, quick thoughts. Right now, you have the right to change your mind. Zhang Parker, who do you like? Who are you leaning towards?
Wow, that's it. I mean, Parker coming off that huge
4
upset
fights last year,
with
staying
Wilder.
active.
He's staying very active. He's about as sharp as you can see him. Zhang, though, he looked good his last time out. He's got momentum as well. That's a really good pick-em fight, Kim. But I got to tell you, I think I lean towards the big guy just because I think the power difference. I think at the moment. I think I do. I mean, look, I'm not saying that with full confidence. I think he's going to take him out. But if I had to pick gun to head, I'm leaning towards him. You don't agree?
Well, here's the thing about Zhang. Zhang looked really good against a juggernaut. But the one thing about Joe Joyce, he is like a monolith. He just moves really slow.
Yeah.
One thing that Joseph Parker showed against Deontay Wilder under the tutelage of Andy Lee, the ability to change distance and be quick with his feet.
Yeah.
Now, with that said, on the flip side, Parker's not just facing a guy now with one weapon in Deontay Wilder. Zhang is a more well-rounded power puncher than the Bronze Bomber.
Right.
The winner of this fight, in my view, steps in line to become, I would say, top 3 heavyweight.
Absolutely. Especially with an impressive showing and new tax bracket for him, too. I think if Zhang is able to let his hands go because he can't hurt him with either one, and he's not a reckless, but the more aggressive fighter in there, I think he could prevail victorious. But again, Parker coming off with the circumstances of where he said, it's very interesting. Could be a pick-em fight.
Yeah, also, moving forward, just announced, I believe it was Mike Coppinger of ESPN who reported this, gave some of the details. May 11th in the States, May 12th down under. George Kambosos against Vasily Lomachenko in Australia for the vacant IBF lightweight title. Mario, this will be about a 12-month layoff for Loma. This is the enduring image I have of Loma after that fight that I think he got robbed. I don't say robbed. I thought he won the fight against Devin Haney.
Well, then that's a robbery.
Okay. But he was so crestfallen and he was so emotional in that locker room, that scene of him.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh, God. I'm going to be interested to see how much does he have left spiritually in the tank to move forward.
Yeah, I'm be interested too, but I'm with you on that. I thought he did more than enough to win. One of the reasons why I was a little reluctant to even have Haney in discussion for a Fighter of the Year based on that performance. As great as he's been, I still thought he shouldn't have got his hand raised that night. But he's looking much better and is a completely different fighter at 140. But Loma, one of the most talented fighters we've seen. Who knows if his mind is there and his heart is there. We know the skill is there. Who knows? And we're going to have a very motivated Kambosos, so it should be interesting.
I just love the fact that this fight's in Australia because in America, you'd have this in a ballroom in front of 2,500 people. In Australia, it's a real big event. You're going to have 15,000 people.
Yeah.
And there's going to be a lot of pressure on there. And for Kambosos, if he wants to stay relevant, look, he had 2 chances against Devin Haney, tough style. Eked one out against Maxie Hughes, which a lot of people did not think he win. But if he wants to stay relevant, he's got to deliver now. It's more. You have to be more than just a guy that draws in Australia at this point.
And on the flip side, if Loma is able to look impressive in defeat, maybe even stopping Kambosos, he's right back in the mix.
Well, this is for a vacant IBF lightweight title. So now you can start setting up maybe a unification bout.
Well, that's what I'm trying to say.
With Shakur Stevenson.
Or maybe even Tank, if you want. So that's what I'm saying. So there's a lot on the line for both of them.
Yeah, once again, say it with this, folks. Belts matter. And Mario, speaking of lightweights, and you brought him up earlier, William Zepeda, it looks like he is going to fight in mid-March.
Okay.
On a Golden Boy card.
Okay, not too far.
So Golden Boy has, to me, a decision to make. How quickly do we move him? In my view, look, the guy's had a good number of fights. He's gotten in quality rounds. If there's an opportunity to make real money, either against Tank or Shakur, look, Oscar says a lot about boxing needs to work together to make the best fights and all this other stuff. Well, don't protect William Zepeda because Zepeda himself has said
he wants Shakur.
I want those guys.
Yeah, he specifically pointed out Shakur, making a comparison to the Castillo-Mayweather fight. So I'd like to see him against both those guys, and I think he deserves those fights.
And moving on here with news and notes on the 3 knockdown rule on UFC Fight Pass. Mario, interesting news late last week. Errol Spence posted it up on social media, and he announced it. He undergoes cataract surgery, which is going to knock him out for several months. And I just found that interesting. It's like, okay, so you fought in late July. Okay? We are now into 2024. And this is after you took 15 months in between the Ugas fight coming into Crawford. I find the timing of this curious.
Well, not to put your conspiracy hat on, but is this all just to avoid the rematch? and trying to age out Crawford or look, I'm not one to kind of speculate on anyone's health, but Crawford has said he is moving on now, and which is I'm happy to hear because what's Crawford about 36?
36,
right? Yeah, 36, and he keeps himself in tremendous shape, and he already posted that he's back in the gym working. What's up with your boy Teofimo? Trying to call him out.
Well, here's the thing with Crawford. Crawford was letting his Twitter fingers go.
Yeah.
That looked like prime Meldrick Taylor. I mean, he was getting into it with everybody.
Yeah.
First, he basically said to Errol Spence, okay, that's it. We're done.
Yeah.
And you're like, what'd you do that for? And he makes a good point. He said, anytime you fight in a major venue or a major jurisdiction like Nevada, you can't get away with a bum eye.
Yeah.
You can't. And first of all, the timing, again, I think is very curious. And then Teofimo and him, Teofimo upset Terrence by saying, well, I'd like to face him. Hey, Teo, you got to fight January 8th. You've looked ahead before, and it's cost you.
Right.
They've had a tension going back to their days when they were both with Top Rank.
You talking about Jermaine Ortiz?
No, I'm talking about
Terrence Crawford and Teo.
Yes.
Wow, but they were weight classes apart. That's weird.
Right, but this is
Just
all
as
about
far as attention.
placement.
Got
yes,
it. Yeah.
placement and who's the top dog
Let
there.
me tell you something. Because look, he called out Loma when no one wanted him. He fought Taylor and beat him when not a lot of people were banging at his door. If, let's say, this fight happens next year when he's 37 and it's time for Teo to move up, is he a live dog in that fight?
He's a liver dog than some of these other guys because of the quickness, the reflexes,
Right.
and the skill.
Right.
Say what you want about Teo. He may be nutty, and sometimes he does things I'm like, oh, God. There's no denying his skill.
No, that talent
None
is God-given.
at all.
No, exactly. That's why I think it's interesting. Not now, but a year from now, or like both of them have their dues when Teal's really ready to move up one. Kind of interesting because, boy, if he for some reason were to pull that off, whoa.
I just love the fact that Terrence Crawford then, and I don't know if this is by coincidence. By the way, I don't know if you know this. Terrence is a rabid Green Bay Packers fan.
Yeah, I know. He was talking about the Packers beating the Cowboys like he beat Errol Spence and he tagged him.
Oh, and by the way, where's Errol Spence from, kind of? Dallas.
He is, exactly.
And if you look at the reactions, it's like Terrence.
Caught his eyes.
I never knew Terrence was this guy.
I was curious, who are people from Nebraska fans of? Is Green Bay the most? Is that the closest
Well, yeah,
proximity?
because it's kind of a proximity. So
Is there? I don't know.
Right.
Is there?
Yeah,
Are they
it
close?
might be. 'Cause there's no real natural team except Nebraska Cornhuskers.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying. Who's their pro
But
team?
in the
I guess,
NFL,
Green
who
Bay.
knows? But Terrence is letting his fingers go. And I think it's really interesting, though. But okay.
Let me ask you this. Okay, so the Teo fight, he was talking about that. He put that out there. Fine, whatever. That's not realistic right now. And plus, I'd like to see him against Haney and against all those guys that we mentioned, and Super Matias, all those guys. Who would you like to see Terrence fight next? You're managing Terrence. Who would you like to see Crawford fight next, assuming this
All right, so if the overall goal is Canelo at 68, I think you have to work your way
let's
up toward
just exclude that.
So
I'm
that
just
next
asking
fight?
you,
No.
I'm
Tim
just-
Tszyu,
So you want him to go up yet again?
54. The Boots Ennis fight, to me, is tough. The Tim Tszyu fight is tough, but in Australia is more money. Don't you think? This is the money game.
Well, yeah, I guess if we're going that route, because in a perfect world, see, I still would love to see Tszyu, Virgil Ortiz down there, the real 154-pounders, and I'd like to see that. And I think if Terrence goes over there and beats him up, that'll kind of throw a monkey wrench in that. I'd rather see Terrence finally fight Boots.
Don't you think?
That's me. I'd rather see Terrence. No, I'm not talking about as a manager. I'm talking about as a fan.
No, but don't you think
As a
Virgil
fan.
Ortiz needs another fight or two?
Yes, I do. But I think if Terrence goes over there and kills Tszyu, it's going to take some of that shine off of that fight right there, is my point. So as a fan, which is a different answer I would give you if I was his manager, I'd like to see Terrence finally fight Boots, and I'd like to see Virgil and Tszyu eventually fight 2 fights from now.
You know, we got to get Terrence on the show because I want to ask him a few questions because for so long he was avoided. I think consciously avoided where people threw roadblocks. The other side of the street, you're on the wrong network. And now that he's the guy, I'm wondering if there's a part of him that's saying, you know what? The way you treated me, I'm going to treat Boots Ennis. I wonder if there's a little bit of spite.
That was my answer as a fan. Putting my manager hat on, I agree with you. I think he does go up to 54, and if he's able to capture that title off of Tszyu, and then I still think to demand that Canelo fight, I say he even takes a shot at 60. But I got to tell you, like a Janovic fight, that's not so easy.
Ooh, I wouldn't.
I wouldn't mess with that. That's a dangerous fight. Maybe he picks up another title there, and then the Canelo fight. But now we're looking at like early next year, realistically, right?
Right. And I just wonder, is Terrence satisfied with just fighting once a year again?
No, but that what I
not.
just laid out, those are 3 fights before you get to Canelo.
Yes, and so that's the whole thing. Look, when it comes to Terrence Crawford, people have to understand he was held, I don't say hostage, but there was an obligation to do a rematch with Errol Spence. But generally, these comes with clauses in terms of time. You just can't hold a guy for 5 years. Errol Spence then says also, forget all this retirement talk. I'm not going anywhere. Bro, first of all, you admitted you didn't live a fighter's lifestyle. You got thrashed badly, and now you went through an eye surgery. Really?
I got it. What about the other Charlo brother?
The one that just lost to Canelo or Jamal? The lightweight or the middleweight that just beat Benavidez?
Who was he bickering with when he was in the ring?
Oh,
Against-
that was Jermel.
Yeah.
Jermel, who's theoretically the champion at 54.
I do that.
Still, even after that performance against Canelo, that non-performance.
Yes, because that wasn't his real weight class. He didn't get necessarily demolished. He got outboxed and he fought a little bit scared. They said, but you still got a fresh Charlo. I like that fight, and I think it does better business. And I think I switched my mind entirely. I'd still like to see that fight next.
Yeah, you're right, because he is still the recognized 54-pound champion.
And he'll still drum up the more interest and stuff.
To make the money in that fight, you could stay in the States.
Exactly.
That's the difference.
Okay.
All right, moving on to
the
the Ask Mario segment of this fine program. Here's one from Malik Brown. It's 2017. Andre Ward just beat the Crusher for the second time. Beterbiev is the mandatory. Who wins? Back then, I would still say Ward, don't you? Experience, savvy.
I remember. Wait, we're talking about a Beterbiev right now. Right?
No,
Not the
we're talking
Beterbiev-
about 2017.
Well, Beterbiev wasn't. I don't think the Beterbiev that he was now. I think he's gotten better with time.
Right.
To be honest, but taking him at their peak, I like a Beterbiev because I remember that first fight with Kovalev and Ward, where I thought Kovalev won.
I thought he won clearly.
I thought he won it handily, and it took some of the shine off for me with Ward. Yes, the second fight was a different story, but the first fight where he got dropped, mind you, I thought Kovalev handled him comfortably, and I think if Beterbiev would take him at the top of 175, it'd be even worse.
The difference is Beterbiev in close quarters is much better than Kovalev. Kovalev was a long-range, mid-range sniper. Needed a little bit of distance, a little bit of space. Once Ward took that away, kind of muffled him. Again, when it comes to Beterbiev,
he's like a wrestler.
Right.
He positions himself.
Right.
Dude, those uppercuts are nice. Those uppercuts, the way he was catching them in there, dude. Whoa.
Right. And he hits you on the shoulder.
Yeah.
Hits you in the sternum.
No,
hits
everywhere.
you in the gut. Everywhere. You probably need like 10 Advils after the fight.
Yep.
It's a little bit different,
Yeah,
but
I still like him.
But in 2017, based on the experience and the savvy, if they fought right then, I would have to say Andre Ward.
Correct. I agree with that, but I was talking about in their peak.
And here's one from Chris Andre, who runs a really, really good YouTube channel. Always appreciate the support from him. One of the bright minds. He called this fight to a T, though. He's a British guy. And he said, nah, it's gonna be Beterbiev. He actually almost called the round, so he's right on it.
Nice.
And he says, question, number one, surviving against Beterbiev looks like a near impossible task. In the 15-round era, it would have been an even harder ask. Are we watching one of the best light heavyweights ever? And number two, is Beterbiev a reincarnated marauding barbarian from 1000 BC? I think that's a yes.
To answer his first question, it's hard to put him in a category of all-time great because there's only 20 fights.
God. But quality over quantity, though. Where do we go there?
That's the thing. If look, you take the guy that we saw this past Saturday night and you put him in against
Any era,
he can hang.
Because think about the great light heavyweights.
He's
Michael Spinks, Archie Moore, right? Michael Moore was one of the hardest punchers ever. Roy Jones.
The Roy Jones would have been interesting.
Bob Fitzsimmons, if you want to go all the way back there.
You can keep him off, like you mentioned, for
Ezra
a long
Charles.
time. But the pace in which he pressures you, it's almost impossible off for 36 rounds. and you're so gassed, not just physically getting beaten, but I think it takes a toll on you and your wind that you end up just kind of succumbing to everything that he's offering. So I put him up there against anyone.
Mario, also the pace. If you want to talk about 15-round fights,
that's what I said. The pace.
Think about it this way: certain guys make you think that you're pushing a boulder up a mountain, going uphill. And certain guys fight like they're pushing it down. He's the guy pushing it down.
Remember Gavozic?
Gavozic for the first 5 rounds was okay.
Exactly. He was boxing beautifully.
He ran a marathon.
What happened? That's exactly
Heartbreak
right.
Hill.
He hit Heartbreak Hill, and boom, that's all she wrote. And that was it.
Unless you have stunning power and you're incredibly elusive, it's hard to be, I don't want to say perfect, but near perfect for 36 minutes. Now, is he a barbarian from 1000 BC? If there was a modern version of it, yes. I just look at the way he is and his mindset. Mm-hmm. And Mark Kriegel had a great term. He's pathologically modest. Because he still says to Mark Kriegel after the fight, I'm still not good.
I love that.
And
guy.
more fighters had that mindset. They might actually
guy.
be what they are. And finally, this is the question I know many people have been asking from Johnny Boy Beterbiev. Johnny Boy does a really good YouTube channel. The Andrew Dice Clay of YouTube boxing channels. He's a real riot.
Yeah.
Short and sweet. If and when they fight, and His Excellency is going to make sure they fight, folks. Don't worry about it.
Before we get to that, describe His Excellency for people who aren't familiar.
I'm just a guy that loves boxing and a guy that has a lot of power and money. That's the way I'd put it.
So he's not necessarily in charge of any sort of country. Is he just
I really don't know much about him other than the fact he controls a lot of the money.
Okay, I was hoping you did. I didn't know.
I don't get too deep into this. All these people trying to make this a political issue, folks.
No, I was just curious if he was actually a political figure or if he was just a guy with a lot of money.
All I know is this. Boxing's been going to where the money is for years. The Thrill in Manila, why'd they go there? The money.
Of course.
The Rumble in the Jungle, why'd they go there? The money. Why do they keep going to casinos where neither fighter's from that area? The money. So all of a sudden, you people want to care about what's good for the game of boxing. Folks, too late. Too late.
Because I know in Chechnya, the main guy, the fighter over in the UFC, Hamzat Chimaev, also Chechnyan, the warlord, the guy that loves him to death and takes. I've had conversations with Dana White where he has to actually deal with him to make these fights, and I wonder if that's the case. Well, I'm sure he loves himself some Artur Beterbiev as well.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think he represents that region of the country well, and for the Excellency, look, they want some tourists. They want for the reputation of the country. Look, it's Riyadh season.
I love it. But I think it's great. I love it. I was just curious if he was or not. That's all.
All these people, because again, I've written about it more than one. There were so many times. I remember it was Canelo Golovkin when Eric Gomez said to me, we're getting interest from New Orleans in the Superdome. And I said, Eric, if you do that, you'll make boxing a better sport because you'll get 60,000, 70,000 people. But what did they do? They went to a casino in Vegas and they made it boring like 800 other events. So anyone in boxing complaining about this, I want to ask you a very general, simple question. What did you do to ever give up the money to make boxing a better sport for the next 50 years? Dana White was not incorrect when he said boxing treats everything like a going out of sale
going out of business
event.
sale.
You did this. Mm-hmm. You never created hometowns. You ruined markets. You kept going to casinos. I was the one guy that had the balls and the brains to say, guys, this is a short-term play. Well, that short-term play is taking us to Saudi Arabia, who's willing to finance the best fights in the world.
And I have no problem with that.
God bless them.
Yes.
So, Johnny Boy Beterbiev has to say, short and sweet, if and when they fight, who are we leaning towards? Beterbiev or Bivol?
Okay.
Orale.
Beterbiev and Bivol, you can argue, is a 50-50 fight on paper. If there's one fighter capable of beating Beterbiev, it's Bivol.
It's only one.
And if there's one fighter capable of beating Bivol, it's Beterbiev. That's what makes this damn fight so intriguing.
Best fight in boxing?
You asked me that last year,
Yeah.
and I told you that was the one fight I wanted to see, didn't I?
Yeah.
Last year I said that's the one fight because the two contrasts in styles, they're actually both well-spoken, soft-spoken.
Gentlemen.
Gentlemen. They are. They're like, wow. Like, I love those guys. Both of them. They couldn't be more different. But their styles, boxing, are completely different. So that's where we are. With all that said, Bivol would have to earn the respect of Beterbiev to kind of keep him off his to stop the momentum and I don't know if he's able with the fencing that he has because he's an excellent fencer with a 1-2 punch. If he'd be able to do that because, like I mentioned, Beterbiev does have a great chin. Gvozdyk did it for a while. Cam Smith did it for maybe a round or two. Bivol has the tools and the talent to be able to put it off. He's elite technically, and he's in his physical prime. And look what he did to Canelo. Beterbiev is no Canelo. I would liken it to, he's like a pitcher that would have to pitch almost a perfect game. Okay? That I would have to pick a... Beterbiev, I think the longer it goes, it does favor Bivol more. Okay? I would love that fight.
Really?
Yes, I do. Just because I want... Look, yes, he takes care of himself, but Father Time is still undefeated, and Bivol just is a little more spry to me. Beterbiev, I'd like to see this fight this year. If this fight, like this summer, and if it's able to happen this summer, I lean towards Beterbiev because I think even though Bivol would have success early on, I think eventually Beterbiev would get to him. You know what fight I'm going to liken it to? I don't know why this popped in my head and take out the controversy. Remember when Cotto fought Margarito in the first fight?
Yeah.
Had success, started having landing nice combinations, but Margarito started closing the distance, started clubbing him with hard shots, big uppercuts. Eventually made him succumb to his pressure and his will. I see the same way. I see the same fight playing out with Beterbiev and Bivol. I've seen Bivol get hurt by guys who punch a lot softer than Beterbiev. That's how I see it. With that said, like I said, he does have the style to be able to beat him and vice versa. And it's not like I'd be shocked if what happens, he'd have to go out there Sandy Koufax style and maybe pitch a perfect game. But I lean towards Beterbiev because that was my initial gut reaction even last year, and I still feel that same right there. Do you agree?
Here's the thing. You talk about the longer the fight goes on, it favors Bivol. Here's the problem, though.
No, I didn't say it favors Bivol. I said it favors Beterbiev.
Yeah, and I'll tell you why I completely agree. You know why? Because if Dimitri is just going to go 1-2, 1-2, it's going to be hard to hold him off. He's going to have to really put us together. It's 1-2, 1-2, 1-2, 1-2. So that's a lot of energy expended.
That's what I'm saying.
So he could be up 5-1, 4-2. And then Heartbreak Hill hits.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
And then it becomes the energy. And unless Bivol can really sit down on one of those shots and buzz Beterbiev.
And he better do it early.
He better do it sometime. He has to do it at some time and maybe plant a little bit more in terms of a left hook to the body. Because you got to be able to take the legs away, right? Because the forward march will always be with Beterbiev. He is the guy that's going to plant himself in the center of the ring. But where Beterbiev might have problems with Bivol has the most interesting rhythm in all of boxing, that bounce step that he does. He has a really interesting
I agree, but I also say because of Beterbiev's background, he's seen every style, Kim. You're not going to surprise him with some new technique. He's not going to be flustered in there. He's not going to, I've never seen this before. Yeah. Look at I just went over the resume of what this guy has faced and who he's beat. I don't think he's going to be intimidated. And I thought when they had that little face-off when they were in Saudi Arabia before, Beterbiev looks at you like he's looking through your soul.
Yeah, but he does that to everybody, though.
But he means it.
Yeah,
like everybody does it to everybody. I think he means it.
Bivol the type of guy, he's lost a lot of stare downs. That's just...
I'm not saying it was like an out macho thing. I'm just saying I think Bivol knows what he has in front of him, and I think he's fully capable of pulling it off, but he's got to be firing on all cylinders and essentially fight almost a perfect fight.
I don't disagree. Last year, I would have said I favored Bivol still. Right now, based on what I've seen, and maybe I am a slave to recency bias, I would favor Beterbiev. However, Bivol has shown one thing, though. He will elevate his game based on the opposition.
You're exactly right.
Do not forget that.
And I don't think Beterbiev will take Bivol lightly.
Yeah.
I think he has a lot of respect for him, but I think he looks at him and says, He ain't gonna stop me with that little 1-2. Those little 1-2 punches. I'm coming.
Right, but it's not just the 1-2. It's the 1-2 with the movement, though.
Well, I said earlier, he's got a lot quicker feet than you thought.
Yeah.
When the way he's able, look, if he was a little more plodding, like a Canelo, because Canelo does not have quick feet, as slick as he is, he does not, and he was able to dart and outbox him like that. Beterbiev's a lot more athletic and has quicker feet. That's the fight deciding factor for me. Why I lean.
Do you
towards
think
him.
Bivol has to make it a point to try to hurt Beterbiev early? Get that respect. First 3 rounds.
I think so.
Yeah.
Because you got to get him going on his back foot. That's why I said he's got to hurt him early. Not at some point. I think he's got to hurt him early to make him a little reluctant and hesitant to not want to just step in there.
He's got him in a position where he's up 7 rounds to 2. And in the last championship rounds, if he's fading, 4 corners.
No,
4
exactly.
corners this son.
But Beterbiev, I think his jab is underrated. He has a really smart
sledgehammer.
jab, and it's like a triple G jab, right? Boom, boom, and he goes upstairs, he goes downstairs. He comes over, you throw a lazy jab, boom, he comes. That's how he hurt Smith. It came over with that solid right. And if you're leaning over, he almost does those clubbing sort of triple G kind of corkscrew type punches where it looks like he's hitting you in the back of the head. And I guess
He does that a lot, by the way.
Well, because you're bending down. I don't blame him.
Yeah.
He does that clubbing thing. That's like a sledgehammer. That's that big ass wrist and fist coming down on you, dude, with that 40-pound thing. Like, no way, dude. The more I think about it, I really like him. Bivol, but ironically, Bivol's the style that could beat him, but he's got to be so on point.
The winner of this fight, do they join Inoue and Bud?
Yes.
In that, and maybe if Usyk beats Fury.
Usyk beats Fury, he's number 1 no matter what.
Oh, wow.
Dude, the guy cleaned out cruiserweight division, and then he beat Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury. You're not going to put him number 1, and he's not even real heavyweight? Seriously?
No,
hold on. Seriously, you're not going to put him number 1?
I'm with you. That's what I'm saying. Those are the top 3.
If Usyk beats Fury, no matter what anyone else does, he's number 1.
Okay.
The dude just beat Anthony Joshua twice, and then he's going to beat Tyson Fury?
Right.
And he's not even real heavyweight? Come on.
So the lethal weapon 3, in your view, should that happen, is Usyk, Inoue, Crawford, and the winner of this light heavyweight fight would make it the fearsome foursome.
Yes.
Do
you not agree?
I think it's pretty clear at this point.
I think so too.
Final flurries.
All right, moving on to final flurries. Mario, NFL playoff weekend began, and congratulations. You did a great job in leading the Houston Texans.
So
Boy,
stupid.
for your first playoff game, man, you carved up a good Browns defense.
I sent
did
him
a hell of a job.
I sent him that tweet, Frazier, from radio that we got. Someone said that I looked like CJ Stroud with a helmet on, cold as ice.
Can we get we have a helmet here?
That's funny. We gotta put that picture up. We'll put that picture up. First of all, that kid, man, ice in his veins. I love that kid. My sister lives in Houston. I guess he's a really good kid too, and I love that he starts off every interview thanking God, and he makes his
Inland
faith.
Empire, Southern California,
right
kid.
here from L.A.
Yes,
Rancho
one of our guys.
Cucamonga. Old man got lucked up. He's doing like 38 years, and he really turned to the Lord. And he made himself, he played out of Snoop's league too, Snoop's youth league. He just looked like a stud. He was looking like Joe Montana out there. Green Bay's gotten they were Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers, and now they look like they got the future with this kid. Do you give them a shot next week against San Francisco?
No, I think it ends. I think they're too physical. But I thought the story of the week 1 of the playoffs was 2 great young quarterbacks. Jordan, one love. You're lucky just to have one love. Word to Houdini. And then also C.J. Stroud. Like so many people complaining about the quality of football. I loved watching 2 young quarterbacks just step up and say, you know what? The league is good. I got a lot of heat on Twitter.
C.J. Stroud, that Texans
C.J.
team
Stroud
is good,
to me
bro.
is already a top 10 quarterback. I said that last month.
That's a bold statement. Now, do you like the Texans' chances next week?
Who do they play again?
They are playing.
Are they playing Baltimore?
They're playing Baltimore.
No, they have no shot.
Yeah,
At
God, no,
Baltimore,
they're playing-
no.
they're
I
playing
think Baltimore's won the
Baltimore.
Super Bowl.
Hey, listen, I would normally agree with you, but Lamar hasn't exactly been great in the playoffs.
I
either.
agree, but they're coming.
So, and
you know
Jordan
what?
Love's out there. I
Neither
mean,
was
and then
Peyton Manning his first 7-8 years.
C.J. Stroud's out there playing. He's playing loose, dude. That defense is good. Ooh, the
But
pressure's gonna be. I
Okay,
know,
but you know what?
Baltimore's looked next level this
But
year.
let me just say this.
But no, that should be a good game, though, huh?
Peyton Manning his first 7-8 years was not a great playoff quarterback. We have to be fair about this. I think this is the year Lamar breaks through.
We're gonna see, right?
We
We're
shall
gonna
see. But C.J. Stroud, if you take a look at that nucleus they have, and they're doing this without their best young receiver, Tank Dell, he got injured. Brevin Air Jordan, you know he's half Korean? That's why I call him Korean Air Jordan.
Sure. One of my favorite wide receivers who I think is underrated, half Korean, Hines Ward.
Hines Ward. 감사합니다.
Don't you think he
might
belongs
be a
in the Hall of Famer?
Might be.
Don't you think he deserves it? Dude, I think Hines was great. One of the best blocking wide receivers. I'm surprised you don't like him.
I like him. I like him, but
you?
I mean, no, there's never been a wide receiver you say, man, what a blocker he was. You don't get in the Hall of Fame.
No, but he made clutch pay. He made clutch catches too.
I like Hines.
I can't believe you hate Hines Ward.
But now, the other thing, the Cowboys.
Dude, let me tell you something. Nothing makes me happier than when the Cowboys lose.
I didn't know you felt this way. God.
You want me to tell you why it bugs me? When anybody just declares themselves America's team, and the Cowboys got a lot of fans. Like, I respect you if you're from Dallas. Cool, fine. But they got a lot of fans from all over.
Because they're America's team.
No, they're not. Like, dudes out here in L.A. Like, I'm like, why do you like the Cowboys
for
you're out here in L.A.?
We didn't have an NFL team.
So what? There's a lot closer than Dallas Cowboys, and people from just random places be liking the Cowboys, and it bugs me. And they just bugs me that they care. They call themselves America's team. Random fans from all over, been bandwagon
They
fans.
didn't call themselves America's team. You know who made it up? NFL Films. In their 1978 highlight film.
Yeah, but they went with it, Kim. They went with
you?
it. Yeah,
what type of patriot are you?
Yeah, with that, I'm not a Dallas fan.
A communist?
I'm not a Dallas fan, so I always get excited when they lose.
All I know is this.
And so, hey, dude, they got demolished.
Jerry Jones tried to lift the curse of Jimmy Johnson by putting him in the Ring of Honor. Oh no, it did not work. Oh no. That little cheap stunt was not going to work.
Do you fire Dak and the coach?
Dak has a year on his contract. You can't get rid of him.
So you got another year with no playoffs?
No, they'll make the play. Like
another
they
year.
won 12 games 3 years in a row.
No, I said you got another year
of playoffs.
Where you won't advance in the playoffs.
But also, guess what? Dak
he
was
seems
bad.
actually like a nice guy too.
But
Dak, too. I hate to say
that defense was bad. They were very soft. They don't want to play the run.
Dude, those guys are wide open.
Well, no, they wouldn't play the run.
Yeah,
they have a lot of great pass rushers that wouldn't play the run. The other thing is, can I go Asian Andy Rooney here? Can I go Asian? Back in my day, we played the Ice Bowl. We didn't care if it was 50 degrees below zero. We didn't care if there was snow. We didn't care if there was frozen bodies on the sidewalk. Hey, we played the game. Buffalo, you ought to be ashamed of yourself.
I was watching that game, and I was thinking to myself, even if my son was playing, I don't think I'd go. I'd say, you know what?
I'll see you,
son. Say, you know what, Dominic? I'm going to, seriously, I wouldn't even go. I wouldn't even go to the suite right there. I said, you know what, Dominic? I'm going to see you at home, hon, son.
And if he would have bitched, I said, you know what? I gave you a roof for 18 years. I fed you every day
of
your
really,
life.
And football's one of those sports, too. And I go to games, but it doesn't do it justice when you're at TV. It's much more favorable. A lot of times you're missing stuff. And it's not like baseball or
baseball is boring as can be.
No, but
I
you still
disagree.
No,
with that.
you're crazy. When you're at the game though, it's fun. You can be social and it's a nice day.
Yeah, in other words, nothing's going on and you could just bullshit the whole
you're
time.
Crazy.
Yeah.
You're telling me you'd rather go to the game than enjoy it at home. Football is one of those games that I'd rather not go once in a while, but I'd rather enjoy it.
The only sporting events I go to nowadays, outside of boxing matches, which I am obligated to go to, basically.
Those are great to go to, though. Those are actually great to go to.
Miami Hurricane football games.
Dude, you can't tell me you enjoy it more than you do when you're there. No, you don't.
Well,
you're
Mario,
just
all right. No, Mario, here's the thing.
Shit is whack. You can't see half the plays. The replays aren't there. It's not as comfortable.
Now.
It's not as comfortable. You ain't kicking it in those suites, so there's no reason that you should go.
No, but you're right.
It doesn't do it justice. I'm being serious.
I'd like to go to a couple games a year. But my most enjoyable Saturday afternoons...
When you're at home.
Well, with Coach JB, Football Palooza, or my buddy Hugo, we set up the TVs, and we watch all the games. You're right. But it's a serious question. Is our country getting soft that a game like football now is basically postponed due to snow?
Bro, that was crazy-ass snow, though. That was like 6 feet of snow. We're not talking like a couple little flakes.
Yeah.
That was ridiculous.
Really? And you think our founding fathers had that type of attitude?
I just told you I wouldn't go. I just told you I wouldn't go with my own son.
Jefferson?
I just told you my own son I wouldn't go.
Yeah, but you're not. Yeah.
You think I'm going to
Yeah,
crazy?
but you're not. I mean, Vincent T. Lombardi must be rolling over in his grave to think that they would have canceled that game. No. I'm ashamed of America.
I'd go out. First of all, you go to a boxing or an MMA fight, that's the best thing to go to. And I'm telling you that in person, that's different. That's gladiator times. You cannot match energy. That is different. You get your money's worth. As far as team sports, I like baseball to go in person, and I like the soccer matches.
Oh my God.
Dude, you go to LSU. Those are fun. Those I'm going to take you, and you're going to trip out.
No, you're not. No, you're not.
All right. All right. Well, you think we do a lot of this? That's all we're doing through the whole thing. I like to party, Cam. Unlike, I don't know what the hell you're liking to do. What are you over there with fucking box score? And like taking care of it.
Box
you know what
score.
I mean?
You're doing baseball again.
Dang,
yeah,
dude.
let me just say though, the tailgates at Hard Rock Stadium.
I sit next to dudes that do
Hey,
that.
the
extra
Hard
time.
Rock Stadium, the tailgates of the Miami Hurricane games, the fellas out there, Canesville,
God, dude, I can't
John
believe you
Drummond and the
fly
crew.
that
Want to shout out to
far.
all you guys. You guys do a hell of a job. You make my
Crazy.
trips worthwhile. Mario, I saw a documentary, brought back memories. I want to come clean here. In high school, you're so segregated in terms of what you like and what you're labeled. I used to hate Depeche Mode.
So did I. Depress mode?
Oh my God. What?
Depress
Hey!
mode, dude. That's exactly. You know what? I know where you're going with this. They kind of grew on me later on over
They're
time a
good.
little bit. Don't get crazy.
Oh, come on.
Did you
What?
like? Do you like Duran Duran?
Oh, I'm hungry like the wolf.
Do you like them fool or not?
Yes.
See, I as a kid, I was like, oh, this music's so whack. This
Because
and
it's
that.
new wave. And
Yeah, as I got older, I tried to appreciate
like
it. Maybe it's because it takes us back to that time.
Right. Okay, now with Depeche Mode, they were all the kids that I never really hung out with, but I was friendly with. They loved Depeche Mode, and
How was the documentary?
the Depeche Mode 101.
I couldn't tell you what the dudes looked like.
I don't either. I couldn't either.
Did
Really.
you just watch the
Yeah,
doc?
just
What do you
watch-
mean?
Yeah, but
and you still couldn't tell.
If they came up to me right now, like, do I know you?
They're like, who are those dudes with the helmets? Daft Punk.
Daft
They're
Punk.
like Daft Punk. I couldn't tell
Or
you.
Devo. Remember Devo?
Well, Devo had hats, Kim. You can still see them.
But also, you're right, but they're not like Huey Lewis. If Huey Lewis came up to me, I'm like, hey, Huey, what's the news? But anyway, so if you take a look at Depeche Mode
drink more
101,
tequila.
it was about their tour that they had in 88.
Dude, they were huge.
And it kicked off, or it ended,
Is that the Master and Servant tour?
I don't know what they
The
called it.
Violator tour? I
But
remember all that. I know people
it
that
ended
loved
at the
Depeche Mode.
Rose Bowl in front of this huge crowd. I know friends that went to it, and what they didn't show was a huge food fight broke out in the crowd.
Food
People
fight?
were just throwing everything they had. It was the greatest time ever.
Master
and
and Servant. Where did you see it at? I want to check it out.
It was on Showtime. It was a Showtime production, and I just DVR'd it. And it was good. Like, I can't say I just didn't have enough, but it was good.
Just can't get enough.
I mean, but
can't
when you
get
look
enough.
at
Now
their,
you're taking me back.
Their songs actually weren't.
No, they sold millions of records.
Yeah, but you call them depressed mode.
Depressed
Man,
mode.
that's
I used to call them
kinda-
depressed mode because. Yeah,
Wow.
exactly.
I wouldn't say that. What?
What does Depeche mode mean? Did they get into that?
No, they just talked about the tour. But Blasphemous Rumors, that's another great song.
Dude, they
Talk about a girl's suicide. Yeah, that is
they
pretty
formed
depressing.
in
Now that I think about that, it's
1980, dude. Yeah, depressed mode. That's exactly.
They
you know
still
that.
do tours, and as I'm tweeting about this, people are telling me about the
1991.
14 times they went to go see Depeche Mode. I mean, so is it like
Yeah, Violator. I remember that. See, I was right.
yeah, so like
1988, the
It's like
Pasadena
a
Rose.
thing.
They had 60,000 people at the Rose Bowl.
yes,
Dude, they were that big, dude.
yes.
Damn.
Richard
a
Blade
lot.
was interviewing them.
Yeah. They're in the 50 bands that changed the world. That's crazy. They ranked 98 on VH1's 100 greatest artists of all time. That's crazy.
Top 100.
Depeche Mode.
Yeah, I still play them on my workouts. They're pretty good.
Dude.
Mario, what's the latest with Blank Slate? How's that going?
You know what? I'm proud to say a little game show on Game Show Network. Debuted at number 1. They're really happy.
Oh.
It's going really well. Looks like we're going to do another one. For those who are not familiar, it's a little like Match Game. You try to fill in the blank answers with a partner, and we're throwing a comic in there to kind of lighten it up. Whoever has most points win. And I got great compliments. Hey, you were funnier than some of the comics right there. I was like, hey, all right, we'll take it. But like I said before, there's no better feeling than giving away money. But it's cool, man. It's fun. And a lot of people have been winning, which is nice. And we're going to go another round in the summer. So check it out. You seem like you'd be good at games.
Nah, I don't think so.
You're not games? You don't like money? Okay.
Nah,
you don't
unless
like to
it's
win?
Hollywood Squares, I'm not doing it.
Hollywood Squares.
Paul Lynn was
Oh, my
hilarious.
God,
Paul
dude.
Lynn, that was a funny
Hey,
guy.
so you're going to watch the Michael J. Fox doc still. It's one episode. You can handle it. And we're going to talk about this next week because that talk about depressed mode, that's during that era. All during that era. I think you're going to enjoy it because I know you like that
I've
kind of
always
stuff.
known him as Michael P. Keaton.
First of all, it's Alex P. Keaton.
Alex, that's right.
Do you know the
Alex.
dad, Michael Gross?
Gross.
He lives on my street.
What?
He lives on my street.
Oh, wow.
Al, he lives like 4 houses away. He lives 4 houses away. You know, I told you who my across the street neighbor is.
Who?
The best horse trainer ever, Bob Baffert.
Bob Baffert.
He's great.
The Manuel Stewart of horse racing.
Exactly. He's exactly super cool.
All right, well, we got a lot to talk about next week. Want to thank everyone that made this show possible. Smokin' Tim Frazier, Tino on the edits, Mario Lopez. This is Steve Kim saying, till the next round, goodbye, everybody.